So where to begin today? Welcome. Maybe here at the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, or the amazing Shiprock located in New Mexico, some ancient castles, or some nice drone footage. I'm using an experimental version of Google Earth. Now here in a comment somebody mentioned something about some runways and ancient lines found out in the West Desert of Utah, and I wasn't really sure where exactly he was referring to, but I thought I'd come out here and have a little look. And I have featured this place in a past video, shown how just this little town seems to just be set on top of a older grid. Pretty ridiculous, what I once called a fake city or town. And out here we do see lots of anomalous airports, more airports than they should need, and just a lot of manipulation of the land. Here it looks as if it's been raked, and they tell us that this whole area was built to test chemicals and different weaponry. But from all the things that we've looked at, I think not. Especially all the old grid patterns out here, and lines, and just much more than they would ever need to test anything like chemicals. And as you can see here, they haven't even really repurposed much of this. Although there are little bunkers, as you can see the entrances to here. And actually somebody was allowed recently to film, I believe in 2014, and got a look at some things that are typically not shown to the public, as this is a military operation. And you can just see the amazing scale of the lines out here, and very interesting, looking like some of those water features, but maybe not, just some type of greenery growing out here in this salty, alkaline desert soil. And it just really goes on, and people in Utah don't go out here and explore this. This is typically uninteresting and completely mind-blowing. You can see these patterns, and again seeming more like some kind of circuitry. And I don't want to get too lost. Very easy to get lost following these grids. In fact, what initially caught my eye can simply be seen here in these photos. We get an idea of these circular patterns, and again they tell us a pretty ridiculous reason as to why, and very beautiful and intricate. And not only do we see these lines, but even the soil down here appears to have something under it, reshaping the contour and topography of the land like a frequency. And as we can see here, inside the ground, underneath Dugway, very fascinating, and actually not seeming very natural, seeming to be a nice passageway that has gone through hell. And I always thought it was absolutely flat out here, and I was surprised to see these caves, and next I was very surprised to see this awesome drone footage filmed by this channel here, Spooky the Dog, and I'll leave his link. He filmed an excellent bit of drone footage out here at Rock Mountain, and this giving you an idea and initially just seeming like some rock outcropping. And as we got closer, we can see caves and entrances into the underrealm. And here as well, we see the remains of square entrances and a potential structure that has collapsed. Here another look from the other side, again seeing entryways, and apparently this is accessible to the public. Again, stuff I read in the comments. And down here you can see actually a better look at what a nice entryway this is, and how there seems to be a fair amount of preservation down here. And I was really surprised, the more he went around the mountain, the more I could see signs of something more than just mountain. And here, for example, is a great look at this. Here we have an entryway again, down here an entryway, and really looking like the deteriorated remains of a massive structure, pre-cataclysm, pre-reset. And here again from head on, a better look and excellent drone footage. Very impressed, allowing us to explore this immediately in a way that would not be possible not too long ago. Here a little look from the top and back out at the surrounding valley. A complete wasteland, and yet little clues and possible evidence of past signs of civilization in the desert. Okay, and let's try a little different angle. Here we see a sports track of some kind. One could repurpose this as anything in this little fake city. Again, let's get a look at the fake city and the unused track. Why is it unused? Because there was one right here, and much is buried under here, is what seems clear as could be. And they repurposing as much as they can, trying to turn this into a baseball field, and again surrounded by complete mystery. Often things not looking as impressive from the Google Earth as they do from simple drone footage like this. And some might think it's crazy to conceive that such a thing might be a building or a castle in times past, reduced to something almost unrecognizable. So let's look at this quick search in which I've simply entered castles in ruins. And let's see the various stages of castles in ruins. How much time or what events render buildings into this state? A fine line between something that looks natural or something built by hand. First of all, it's just absolutely mind-blowing to consider how thick they used to build these buildings of the past. 3, 4, 5 feet thick is not uncommon. And again, could time do this? I don't think so. And if time could do it, then man's ability to create it with the means that we're told he had would be completely impossible in this distant time, if we're to believe the time theory. I personally don't believe in such a theory. This seems pretty clear that this is the result of a serious cataclysm. And most people draw the line here. And yet different countries have different histories. when it comes to our history in America, things like this are simply called mountain. And in other countries, they are called castle and recognized as ruined castles. And here, for example, a Moorish castle in Spain, built in the 16th century. A fine line between stone and castle, and with a little restoration, especially by the hand of a government, this would easily resemble something natural. Perhaps a little observation deck on top, and the mystery is put to rest. And what an amazing old world, seeming as if everything was absolutely massive and such a scale beyond anything that we do today. In our cheap, disposable world, such feats accredited to such an early time seems almost impossible if we think in terms of modern means of construction, seeming as if every hilltop had a glorious castle on top and is now in ruins, found all throughout this realm, and oftentimes the ones in North America seem to have been hit the hardest. And again, what do we find in all of these castle ruins? Are brick tunnels leading into all sorts of subterranean realms. And finally, I wanted to touch on this place in New Mexico, a place that I've driven by often and marveled at in years past. I marveled at a mountain just because I thought it was a mountain, and how beautiful and mysterious. And so here we are in Shiprock, New Mexico. The actual town of Shiprock is right here, a Navajo town on the reservation. I always enjoyed hanging around this country. But today I'm going to introduce you to this monument in the middle of nowhere. And again, I'm not liking this non-application version of Google, but it doesn't matter. We can have a little look at some pictures here. Again, what seems like a castle. More a castle than a ship. And absolutely amazing. Again, I've driven by it many times, and it's visible for miles and miles. And again, just beautiful as a mountain, tree, or remains of a glorious castle. And at any other point in my life, I may have been content to not investigate this monument towering over the plain. But today, I found myself noticing something from above. Now they telling us this is a volcanic field. Not really making any sense to volcanism being the cause. Again, similar to Devil's Tower, just not making any sense for lava to rise up and then harden and cool. But these lines out here, and not seeming like grid lines at all, seeming like some kind of man-made line. Something absolutely anomalous and seeming like a lot of effort and use of resources out here on the res. And for what purpose? Now, of course, we'll be told that this is a natural formation, so perfect. And again, on any other day, I might just believe it, but not today. Here we see it runs this way, all the way up to this possible castle resembling the ivory tower in the Never-Ending Story, of course in ruins. And here again, from this center point, running this way. Is this how lava is said to behave? And enough beating around the bush. I think that this might be a wall. A massive and glorious wall. And again, the Google Earth only allowing so much visibility. Pictures only showing so much. And here again, a little look. And now once again, we're going to jump to a channel that I found while doing a search. And I was very impressed with the perspective that we're able to get from this drone footage. And here is the channel. I'll leave the link below. And here we go. Now we can see what looks like a wall that may have put the Great Wall of China to shame. And here again, let's just get a little quick refresher on what ruins look like after whatever. And these being Christchurch castle ruins. Again, castle ruins, I encourage you to have a little fun and begin exploring these castle ruins. And just go as far back as you can until they just resemble mountain. Now this clearly still has obvious signs of handiwork. But when we begin looking at something like this, almost seeming unrecognizable as anything that could be created by man. And out here, I feel like we see both signs of plasma, apocalyptic evidence, as well as great flood, and the very residents of this land have stories of the oceans reaching this high desert in past cataclysms. And the things we're just coming to understand are commonplace to the residents of this land. And consider such sites. We all have them in our backyards. And again, this research is very new, and for that reason alone, one of the most fascinating. And so I thought I would show you this article of the melted bricks of this fort here in Russia. This fort is located on the shores of the Baltic Sea. It lies in complete ruins today. It was built in the 1860s. Now I have shown this before, but only scratched the surface. And today I want to get the historical narrative. And again, this research being so new, we found it to be only speculation that these bricks had been melted. And many people didn't feel it was possible to melt brick. And yet here, in the mainstream, we're told this is exactly what happened. They tell us at the beginning of the 20th century, it was converted into a warehouse of sea mines and used as an ammunition dump. It was also a site for military training and practical shooting. So that's it. They're telling us before this was destroyed, All they could do was store ammunition and use it as quarters for target practice. Again, the fine line between stone and, in this case, brick. Just a big mess. And really looking as if it's been worked through time. Many different stages here. Where did this lead at one point? How many chambers are unexplored? And here they tell us, in the late year of 1970, a devastating fire broke out that raged for several weeks. So late in the 1970s, they're telling us this melted brick occurred. When the fire finally subsided and the fort cooled down enough to enter, the basement was completely unrecognizable. The inferno was so hot that it literally melted the bricks above, which dripped down like stalactites. It's not known what kind of material fueled the fire, but from the nature of the damage, it was evident that it was something that burned intensely hot. Now this is just about as stupid as the airplane that brought down a couple towers. It may tell us, in any normal household fire, even a very strong brick does not melt. This requires a long enough temperature, not less than 1800 degrees centigrade. For comparison, a large gasoline fire will produce temperatures of about 1100 degrees. Some say the Russians were testing some kind of weapon, possibly something with a high phosphorus containing compound, similar to napalm, that burns at temperatures in excess of 2000 degrees centigrade. Another theory is that the fort was a cesspool of lubricants and decommissioned ammunition, and waste from ships accidentally set fire by careless tourists may have possibly caused this fire. The truth, they say, will never be known. And what a joke. What a joke of a story. But in actuality, what we are seeing is melted brick. And you decide which story makes more sense. But in this case, the mainstream actually agreeing with the alternative history. And any more heat and any signs of intelligent construction may have disappeared. Absolutely fascinating. And for today, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I do wish you a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe.